Okay. We live. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. So we'll probably repeat this in maybe the cooler weather months. We get wet people. Anyway, the Rocky Mountain Inventors, been around since 1978. This is a 501c3 nonprofit. So we're here to just help people transition from their idea to a business, and help them get over that difficult gulf of at least getting your prototype, getting it protected, and then figuring out how to turn it into a profitable business, which seems to be the most difficult thing for people to do. So we meet the second and fourth Mondays of the month, except for probably we might meet the fourth Monday of November and December, depending on how close it comes to Christmas or Thanksgiving. But we'll have at least 22, 23 meetings a year, and it's all kinds of topics. We'll have speakers from the Denver Patent Office, the Denver Public Library on researching, funding, finance, social media, marketing, manufacturing, prototyping, and whatever you request to, you can ask us for stuff. So what we got coming up, the second Monday in September will be social media with Anthony Pritchard. He's presented like 4 times to our group, so he is a YouTube expert, and so he's really good at helping you put together a quick video or say your product to get online with, and how to make your video get searchable, because that's really the best way to search these days, and most products demonstrate well with video. And we're talking like, you don't have to have a big fancy video that, I've had clients spend upwards of 25,000 plus on a video. You do this with your smartphone, and these days there are simple video editing programs that fit in your smartphone, so you can cut and move frames around. You can put in some voiceover and music, and boom, you get a video for very little effort, like the 1 to 3 minute one. And then the fourth Monday in September, James Horn is coming. He's going to talk about engineering and manufacturing. And then October, we are having, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but we'll have the director of the Denver Patent Office, Molly Kowalski, coming. And then we're going to have an update on the Jobs Act, which is the equity stock at a lower amount level that's got simpler registration if you're looking for fundraising. And actually, tonight's presentation, franchising is sort of an alternative to fundraising for an inventor. If you have a concept and you have it working in one place, and so you want to go national with it, it's a way to get partners in and have them invest money. So anyway, just the words of caution. So our usual announcement is, anyone in the group, if you have an idea and you haven't already publicly disclosed it, and you don't have a patent pending, you should keep it confidential. Now, if you disclose it, you have to get a US patent filed within a year, or an international filed before you disclose. It's probably good to not disclose. Now, what is disclosure? You can talk about maybe what the invention does, but just not how it gets there in detail. And then after that, we usually do a round robin. Everyone takes a minute or two, introduce themselves and what they have going on. So I'm on the board with Roberto of the group. I've been in it since '99. The group started in '78. So I'm a patent attorney, and Roberto's a patent agent, so we can help in those questions, certainly. But we'll have other people at other times. So, Jim, just introduce yourself and what you got going on.
My name is Jim Ross, and I work construction as my primary job to pay the bills, but I design shoes, and that's my business. I'm perfect good with shoes. So they're shoes that aid in fitting of the feet. And there's multiple designs, multiple patents that we apply for. It's just a matter of funding. And I've talked to numerous attorneys And they're all like, don't file for a patent until you're ready to defend it. So, having a patent doesn't
Yeah.
really good unless you have the money to defend it.
Well, there's all kinds of levels of it that, there's design, you can do trademark and copyright.
Right.
There's a lot of levels of protection, and not everything qualifies for all protections. So,
No, I'll be doing the trademark registration for my business. That hasn't been done yet.
yeah, that's a good one. That's economical. If you got a unique name, you can get that approved. The whole thing is, if you feel it has commercial value, you protect what you can, no matter what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything from a magic trick to a gadget, we'll find a way to give it some sort of protection.
Sure.
Anyway.
No, protection is what you gotta do. But at the same time, you gotta make sure it's engineered properly so it doesn't become the optograph.
Yeah.
So,
That's the challenge, because people, and we have a number of people like this. So they have a patent, they have a trademark, and they might have a nice prototype. And then they kind of get stuck right there into turning it into a business, either because of that there's two spheres of issues. There's the manufacturing, like, can you get it made at the right quality, the right price, and in a timely manner and reliably? So that's a big deal. And then the market, getting demand and interest stimulated in the market, and you do not want to stimulate demand and interest in the market till you've got your manufacturing down, because this is what happened to a lot of people on the crowdfunding.
Kickstarter.
Yeah, Kickstarter. So they got in over their head, right? They had this new product. They didn't have the manufacturing ironed out. They got people wanting it, and they've been waiting like over a year.
Right.
In certain cases, and so you don't want to do that, because then you've actually created negative.
Luckily for me,
Inference.
for more than 20 years, I've been involved in the manufacturing field and producing.
Yeah, so that first, then marketing.
And the marketing, people love what I have. It's just a matter of getting the right design and the right color scheme so that people say, well, I like this one, but there's no color. Well, I like this one, there's too much color. And they want to see the merge. It's like, this cost me $1,000 to make. This cost me $1,200 to make.
Yeah.
You want to make this one? This is going to cost me. It's like, it's a matter of figuring out where you spend your money and stuff like that.
Because once the demand's there, you want to have a product to like put in the pipeline and fulfill it. Yeah.
Look at the momentum.
Okay, go ahead. I'll pass that to
Oh,
Roberto.
Roberto Schena, agent. I've been practicing patent law for 15 years. I'm the U.S. correspondent of a few patent law firms. So I'm getting patent applications from Italy. They've already been filed in Europe, and I do the filing of prosecution here in the U.S. Patent. In fact, I have patent here to show the new look of patents now. And mentioning the Spanish shoes, yes, I did the design patent on the Spanish shoes. Design patent actually, I would say, much easier than the utility patents.
Sure.
That's straightforward. They're based on the exteriority of the Spanish shoes, right? Anyhow.
And we've been, you can stretch design patents out to a lot of things, like computer screens, design patents, sculptures, artistic works, a lot of things, you wouldn't think. It's kind of like design patent is going to cover the outer shell or look, and the utility patent covers the guts or functional part.
See, I'm a designer, but I'm a functional designer. And when it comes to the looks, I'm like, well, you, and you can combine your thoughts together and create something, because I'm not, that's not what I do. I look at things and I solve problems. I'm a chemical engineer by background, and I just look at things and I engineer things and say, well, why are we looking at it from this point of view? Because I've worked in a lot of different industries and taken other applications from other fields.
The same Spanish shoes, you can have both the utility patent, the color, the functionality, the knowledge in the function of the shoes, and then eventually
You can overlap all these protections.
For sure.
There's really no
Right.
blocking. You can have a design utility in the same product. You can
Sure.
have a trademark and copyright in the same product.
Absolutely.
You can have part of it still trade secret. People do that sometimes, so. Anyway, we'll start a franchise. So have any one of you guys had experience with licensing agreements or franchise agreements?
I've drafted some, looking online for
Okay.
things, and that's about it, all of them.
So, in the paper, I called a regular license agreement, which is the traditional. It can be patent, trademark, copyright, trade secret. It's really pretty open, which you can license. So that's basically where you give someone permission to use your technology on the promise you won't sue them for infringement. But it's a pretty narrow scope document. So that the closest one to franchise, we should look at, say, trademark licensing. So you give someone permission to use your name on a particular good or service that's associated with the trademark. So the trademark owner or the licensor, they'll have controls on, say, how the trademark appears and the product is associated with, how it's promoted to the public. It's called, the goodwill, good faith, impression of the trademark sort of thing. And so, but that's pretty much where that agreement's going to stop. Okay. If I license a trademark to someone to use a particular product, it's most likely this company is making and selling other things. So I don't have control over that. They're building, they're looking at other products, what they do with them. So that's a regular license agreement. It just covers the scope of the intellectual property I'm protecting, and I do have the right to say go on and audit it and look at their operation to make sure. If you tell me you're selling 10,000 widgets, I can confirm that because you're paying royalty, whatever.
Right.
So franchise is like a license, a regular license agreement plus a lot of additional controls that cover non-proprietary stuff. So probably a franchise people are mostly familiar with is like fast food, just to start, but you can franchise all kinds of things. But a franchise agreement there would control the look of the building, the architecture of it, the interior design, how you advertise, how you run your employee hiring and your financial management systems, the equipment you use to make the food,
Suppliers.
packaging. So it's a very all-encompassing control. It's got some intellectual property, like the trademark, you're always using a trademark in a franchise agreement, but it's got all these other things. So I always say that in a regular license agreement, the licensee who takes the license to use the technology is still an independent contractor. In a franchise, you're moving kind of towards an employee because of the high control feature. So why is this distinction important? Because there's a whole different group of federal regulations on a franchise that come in, and I've got the site here. It's 16 CFR 436. So if you're doing a franchise, like an inventor, you'd be the franchisor. You want to franchise out your concept to people. In a franchisee, you're taking it and setting up. So there's all kinds of disclosure and prohibitions like what you can and can't do. There's a lot of rules that come in. A regular license doesn't have that. So the whole thing is, when you go into a license, you gotta very clearly know, regular license, franchise. It's gotta be very clear. When people muddle this and they accidentally get into a franchise, they have all kinds of federal regulations they weren't expecting or wanting to deal with. And so sometimes it gets a little blurry on
someone what they're requiring. So let's take an instance. Let's say I license a trademark to you. Okay, so I'm saying I'm going to use my trademark for this widget, and I want to, pre-approve your advertising and how you're showing the trademark. But my control would be going too far if I made you buy raw materials from me to make the product. In other words, I totally control how you make the product. Then I'm moving toward a franchise because I'm regulating and controlling things on you that are not related to the proprietary interest of the trademark. Okay, so some of these things, like I heard about Quiznos, their franchise went so far as you had to buy cleaning supplies from them, and the franchisees were like not happy with that because, of course, those cleaning supplies were 2 or 3 times the cost of regular, and it's like, what's that got to do with the running of the restaurant? But see, it's that kind of extra controls they put on them, or franchisees may be upset about, okay, their store's doing well. And then the franchisor says, well, per our agreement, we're going to engage in this national ad campaign. And you may not even want it or like it, but you have to help pay for it. That's part of the franchise thing. So it's that control. You got to pay for group advertising and uniforms employees wear. It's just all kinds of stuff. So franchises, if there's some interest in the group, we can have someone talk about it from a business standpoint, because I'm just kind of covering the legal stuff here. Because people, they love them or hate them. Some people have done well with them, and some have been disastrous. See, you could say they give you the best and worst of being an entrepreneur and an employee. Because the franchisee, let's say, the way I understand it, say typically McDonald's, the franchisee has to pay for the building of the property and the equipment. They have to fund all that. And then you're just using kind of the pre-made business model of McDonald's and their look. So you could say, well, it's a good deal because I can be an entrepreneur and make money, but I've got an already proven and well-known business, so there's no guesswork, right? How you make the food and the national name recognition and everything, it's much less risk than me starting something from scratch. But then again, they have controls over you, and you don't have the freedom to operate the way you want either. So that can be more like you're just an employee doing what you're told, but in a franchise, you have the personal financial tie-in. But these things, they're all different. Like I was reading about Chick-fil-A, they pay for the building and the site and like the initiation fee to get in that franchise is only like $10,000. But they take a much bigger royalty. So you have lower upfront, but they take more royalty and have tight controls over you.
Their franchise fee is only $10,000.
Right, and they do the building and site selection. Now, of course, they pick who they want, but the point is the royalties they take from sales are a much bigger chunk
Sure.
than, say, McDonald's or the others do.
The only reason why I asked that is because Jeff Sessions, the guy from the EPA, was trying to get a franchise for his wife.
Whatever.
Political thing. A few months ago. And he was trying to get Chick-fil-A, and they were big on Chick-fil-A.
They're all a little different, and even the same company. Now, the way I understand McDonald's, who, in the early days, like post-World War II, they were kind of the franchise king. And franchisees did very good because McDonald's had very little competition and they grew. But even McDonald's, I think their international outlets are company owned. So some companies do a hybrid. They do some franchising, some company owned. They have their reasons and stuff. But actually, I was reading a little blurb on, A&W root beer. Way back in the 20s, they were like one of the originals fast food franchises in the 1920s. But for some reason in those days, it didn't really catch on and grow much. I think probably because we weren't a car society and didn't have the roads, Like after World War II, it was a different ballgame.
that fast food being caught on better. So franchising as a concept's been around a long time. It's basically a way to grow your business, and you get outsiders to help fund a big part of that growth in order for giving them ownership of, you probably get exclusive rights in a certain area. And, and they'll guarantee, okay, you franchise McDonald's, there won't be another McDonald's in, say, 5 months, so you get an area to yourself, and it doesn't weaken you or something. That's pretty much the gist of it. So, another big distinction is the cost to set it up. So setting up a franchise, there's lawyers, which I'm not, but there's lawyers that specialize in just that, and business people that specialize in just that. So due to the high regulatory nature and all that, I think we're talking 50 to 100,000 for the franchisor to set up everything legally. Whereas a standard license agreement, a regular license agreement, you're just going to do the contract. It's going to be, 1, 2, 3,000 for, not too complicated one. So there's a big difference in the burden of setting it up and everything, because the franchise is much more involved in a sense than a standard license. And so if you get anything out of this meeting, it's just to think, okay, license agreements fall into regular and franchise. There's a big difference here. I make the distinction. But basically the franchise is controlling lots of extra things that if I just licensed the name, I wouldn't be. So like I say, it's, the appearance of the retail store, the interior design of it, on and on and on. And I think franchisees can be a good deal, but I think they might be, if they don't go well, they're kind of hard to get out of. Like if you paid for a specific building and style and location, to sell that to another use, or, there might be restrictions on that, or I think you probably have to sell it to another person who wants to franchise or something.
Well, I've seen a lot of those old Taco Bell buildings. That had the distinctive bell inside there, and had the old.
Yeah, no, I've never heard if they franchise or not, or
they're franchise and corporate owned. They're mixed.
Yeah. And the thing is, to the consumer, it's kind of transparent to you. Like you go to McDonald's, you think it's McDonald's, it's not really obvious to you that it's independently owned by someone who operates under a lot of conditions from McDonald's. So business-wise, from the franchisor standpoint, using franchising to grow means you can get outside investment, but you still have a lower degree of control than if it's company owned. That's true. So, like McDonald's or franchisee, they weren't keeping the store clean, or they had good employees, it could make a bad impression of the brand. So there's some issues there.
Well, until the internet got big, I was thinking about selling my shoes in a kiosk type setting in these malls, not taking a full store setting, but just a kiosk and have. Because a friend of mine, I used to work at.
See, that could be a franchise thing.
And that would be something that I wanted to franchise, but I had to prove it initially that it operated well. But the beauty of the shoe that it just, like my shoe does, is I don't have to have half sizes. And I got a kid that wears an AFO brace, which is a brace because his leg has a foot drop, he has no muscle support. And with the brace on, when I met him, he wore like an 8-4E New Balance shoe to cover his foot with the brace. But he's an 11-year-old kid, and he's a 5.5 shoe. So his right shoe was a 5.5. And I had previously made some shoes, And I said, I bet you I can get you a pair of one size that'll fit both of your feet. And I did. So I was able to fit this 5.5 foot normal size with a pair of my shoes, size 7. And I was able to fit this 8.4E brace foot with the same left shoe, right foot and left shoe, one pair. I was able to get that much adjustability with one pair of shoes.
Wow.
So that's where a perfect fitting shoe comes in, because people, even if you got the money to buy a custom made pair of shoes, it's custom made for the moment your foot is sized. Your foot is dynamic. Your foot changes throughout the day. Some people more than others. So to get it custom made.
When I put on a pair of shoes I haven't put on for a few years, it's like, I don't fit
Yeah.
that big. And they used to fit me good.
And you're like, they're broken in.
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is, look, don't look at it as breaking in the shoe, because you're not breaking in the shoe, you're breaking in the foot. And if you look at what your analogy is of wearing the shoes, you're breaking in the foot to wear whatever shoe you want to wear. Then you'll understand that you'll have to get used to that fit initially, maybe 30 minutes, 15 minutes. And then the next day, a little bit longer, the next day, a little bit longer. That's how people get used to that Birkenstock, because it's got that raised metatarsal, and they tell you it takes a month to get used to it. Don't expect to wear them the first day all day long, because you will hate them, and you will return them and not wear them again. But that first day, take 30 minutes, then take them off. Give your foot a day or 2 days to rest and relax. And then the next day, wear it an hour. And then again, give it a rest. And then the third time, wear it 2 hours. And progressively, your body gets acclimated to that shape of the shoe. And it fits.
I remember I saw a presentation at the Rockies Venture Club about a company. They were gonna like custom make flip-flops at a kiosk. It was a machine.
Right?
And I don't know, it scanned your foot, so it made the flip-flop fit it. I don't know if that ever really got off the ground. I mean, but that could be another franchise opportunity, you know. You know, of course, the purchase of the machine and then putting it in the kiosk in the mall.
Right?
Type of thing. Because that, see, that kind of concept, like, kind of hard to sell it online, because you got to have the person's foot there to
Right.
scan. So
Yeah, that was the only way I was gonna franchise. But the beauty about my shoes is because like 30% of all shoes are returned. Because they're just, they buy the wrong size. But if you get something that's so adjustable, like my features, you can cut down the return from that.
yeah. But see, well, I guess another option is you can, like if you had it patented or you had a trademark, you could have just done a regular license routine too. Saved yourself all the upfront costs of franchising.
Sure.
Probably, I mean, we have a lot of inventors in this group. So I just want a license agreement. I just want a license agreement. It's awful hard to get one, for sure, if you don't have the product already being made and sold, proven in the market.
Right.
Because the thing is, the licensees, they've always got the bargaining power, because there's way less licensee people that can take and manufacture licensed technology. The people looking for licenses. There's a lot of people looking for licenses, a few people that can grant them, so they can be extremely picky. And there's been other deals like people that are all happy about they get a license, that a licensee can become a nightmare, because nobody knows more about your business than them, and they can become a competitor, violate the agreement. What else can they do? They can sit on it and not sell it or push it good enough. That's usually the trap that falls into, is like people license out to someone and the licensee is just, they've got other products, right? They're just a company in that business or that field. And then they're not pushing your product. They're not giving the time and attention to your product you want. And I mean, you can put things in the agreement to force them to sell, or make them pay minimum royalties and stuff. But a lot of times they don't want to do it. And I just tell people, well, it's a trust into the future agreement, and so you don't want it long term. You just set it up as a year, subject to renew. If company A don't work out, find someone else. Move on. don't waste any more time with them.
Sure.
But that's usually the deal, is that or the licensee wants to completely change your product. Well, we think we need to do some things to make it, then you gotta have some rules in place in the agreement, like, who's gonna pay for the changes, who's gonna own them. So you do, when you license out, you do lose a degree of control, sure. But you had any experiences with people licensing? How much?
I'm stopping at the patent.
Yeah, he's like, he's out of there before the.
Right. Yeah. Pass. Right. Well, that's enough for it. I mean, have you been to the patent stacks in Washington DC?
Huh?
Have you been to the patent office, the stacks?
Oh,
in
yeah,
Washington,
many
DC?
times, yeah.
I went there once when I first, well,
What
I
year
did
was
stay
it?
for 3 days, I'm sorry.
What year was it?
It was, 89, something like that.
Oh, so that was the old office.
Those-
Yeah, when they still had paper patent, like.
Yeah, that paper. Have you ever touched it for a period of time? And it just killed my fingers for like a week or 2 weeks later. I mean, I don't know what that paper is, but it's like it's sandpaper, or some sort of acid rub wipes off on your fingers. I don't know what it is, but I had problems for like 2 weeks. I was like, man, this is gonna stop. It was like a tingling. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird. It was like little bit micro needles in my fingers or something like that. I never felt that.
Actually,
Maybe, yeah, I don't know.
this is the new one.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
10 million, not 10 million in the room.
That's pretty cool. That's very nice. Very cool.
Yeah, I think when they moved in their new facility in the early 2000s, they kind of unceremoniously threw away all the old paper patent.
They would throw it away.
Of course, now it's all digital.
Sure, yeah.
Uh,
But isn't there like a depository in Philadelphia or somewhere like that also? And there's secondary office or where they pick?
Well, they opened branch offices in Dallas, Detroit, here, and Colorado. But they're small. I mean,
Right.
ours is like, maybe 100 people. But there's like 10,000 examiners in the main office.
Gotcha, oh, wow.
So, still, most everything's done there, but it does give us a local connection. And we can use them for interviews, for examiners and stuff, video conference. But anyway, back to franchises. Any questions?
No, that's beyond me for right now.
But it's just, as an inventor, it's another option for you to consider on growing. I mean, I guess I kind of see you're getting a financial partner in a sense. And I'm sure if we got a franchise business person to present, they'd probably say that there's certain businesses that work better for franchising than others. Yeah, probably the most obvious examples are fast food. But, well, I'm sure there's like auto repair,
Yeah, or
things, brake, muffler, I think.
There's plenty of other business coming beside the food, yeah.
borders.
Now, what about stores? Stores, they're not really franchising.
No, I mean, most of those are corporate owned, like Brown, Macy's, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Even Foot Locker, I'm 99% sure Foot Lockers are all owned by.
Right, there's franchise, yeah, the one that,
Yeah.
shoes are like.
But I know there are some shoe stores that are franchise. Athlete's Foot is franchise.
I think, yeah, there may be some car painting and auto body is, because they're using a national name.
Right.
Or some of it's made the argument that it's more efficient to advertise, you know, a name nationally. A different name hopefully has problems. It gives you more instant recognition. You know, like someone can move 2 states away and then they know a brand name already somewhere and they'll use it, as opposed to some brand name.
Sure.
But I think you always see in the popular media, you know, there's always franchise disputes erupt about the franchisee and the franchisor got some different ideas. So.
You read about the Arby's? Not Arby's, yeah, Arby's. No,
Arby's or
Applebee's.
Steak and Shake?
Applebee's.
Oh, is that a franchise?
Applebee's. They're all franchised. Every Applebee's is franchised. And I think the biggest franchisee is the guy, the company in Texas, and they haven't paid their royalties in like years. And they finally went to court and all this stuff. And they're like 12 million or 40 million. It's a big chunk of money. You know, yeah, and they're wanting them to stop, they're pulling like the name away from certain restaurants, but not all, because you got like 40 restaurants or something like that.
Yeah, so some of the franchisees can get pretty big with multiple
Yeah.
outlets.
But they had some sort of promotion that he wasn't big on, that didn't help him out, and made him pay, and there were things that they said that were gonna make you better, and they didn't, and they turned around and changed things, but they had to spend all this upfront money to go with a new cooking procedure that they 86, 2 months later, because the guy that brought it in, the CEO, was canned, and all these franchisees, wait a second, I just spent all this money, and now you're telling me I'm not gonna use it? But come on, man, somebody needs to think long term, don't get me spending money, yada, yada, and all of a sudden jerk my chain back and say, I can't go get it. So, yeah, I mean, he had a legitimate gripes.
Oh, yeah, so what was one dispute I heard that, it's probably 2 years ago, so McDonald's wanted to expand or make, the breakfast all day
Right.
thing, and so the franchisees were against that because I guess, they had to change some cooking things around to serve breakfast all day. So there was a dispute.
Sure, yeah,
That's just one example.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
of these things.
Subway always had big problems, always with their franchisees, because they're nationally saying we're gonna do this. They just had one where they went to the $4.99 foot long, and all the franchisees, come on, dude, I'm not making.
Oh, yeah,
money on
yeah,
this."
that was a Subway, right? They wanted to keep that discount price to the foot long, and then the franchisees were going, that's a barely break-even deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And, yeah.
I mean, it's tough. You're competing against Bimbo or Limpy and all that. I mean, there's Quiznos, and there's Jimmy John's. You got lots of competition out there.
And then you gotta deal with, public taste change over time.
Yeah, that's it.
Something that can be pretty popular, because I think, isn't Subway actually bigger than McDonald's in terms of?
Subway's, I think a
Yeah.
boatload more franchises.
But they've been, I think they've been struggling on, their demand is softening lately. Yeah.
There's some problems. Yeah, the company that owned the franchise is called Doctors Associates. I always thought that was kind of.
Yeah.
Like, doctors said it must be a bunch of doctors with some extra money. So, one of the fast food business.
So, I guess that, the big thing to remember in kind of summary is just, it's the control factor, franchise agreement, and the franchise is controlling non-proprietary stuff. So it's just how you run a business.
The advertisement,
Yeah.
the trademarks, all the, right. Standardizing all the procedures, basically.
Yeah. So I should probably in the future, I'll see if I can find a business franchise person so they can we could get on record with a video like, these are the top 5 type businesses that work for franchising. Maybe there's the bottom 5 that are the worst for franchising. People haven't feel for the usability of that as an alternative to grow your idea. Or maybe there's some creative franchises that don't involve a physical retail outlet. I don't know.
The services also.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Services. Yeah,
Services,
that's
right,
one I think.
Right.
County services.
Service Master, and there's some others. Those are franchises too, I believe.
County services.
Yeah.
It's not block, example.
Yeah, it's not block, yeah.
For the services.
Yeah. So any questions at all? Okay.
The Federal Trade Commission is one that, there's all the franchise agreements, there's one that, Federal Trade Commission is the one that regulates.
Well, there's two layers. You can look that up online. You can just plug in that CFR number and you can get the rule. But the other thing to keep in mind is the states add to that, and the states are different.
Sure.
And I don't know which states have the heaviest regulation or the lightest. I mean, some may just say, well, we'll just use FTC. We don't add to it. Other ones may add a lot.
Gotcha.
Some of that is been out of problems and fraud in the past, like the franchisee, getting screwed essentially, like on, the business concept or the background of the people starting it, or they put in their money and never see it again. There's no end to sketchy things that go on here. But certainly, the bigger known ones cost more money to get into.
Right.
Because I think McDonald's, I heard this was years ago, I think the initiation fee was $250,000. Plus you had to pay for the facility.
I heard it's in there now.
Yeah, and so McDonald's, of course, is one of the top tier, best known. But, a startup companies would be a lot less money. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's like anything. If you can get into an unknown for cheap and then it grows and does well, then
Sure.
then you can probably, I suppose there's an aftermarket for franchises. You can probably sell your franchise.
Oh, definitely, yeah, Domino's, my buddy, can buy and sell them all the time.
Yeah,
Taco Bell, the guy that I was talking about, his family sold like 6 of them, bought a bunch of real estate, and then a few years later decided, let's get back into it, bought a bunch more. Bought more Taco Bell, just because that's what they knew, and they thought they knew, get out of fast food and get into real estate, and they lost their money, so went back to the fast food. That's what we know. They were what you know.
all right, good. Well, I'll turn off the video and the webcast now, and we could talk about whatever. I just wanted to keep it on franchise. Oh.